Welcome to the world of science fiction Neon's Alien. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story from Neon's Alien universe. Eli was not a famous scientist. He didn't work for any space agency. He didn't even have a real lab. But in the back of his quiet country house, under a tin roof and beside a small garden, he had something special. A homemade satellite dish, built with old parts, wires, and a dream. Eli believed that one day someone out there would answer him. Every night he sat in his tiny control shed, headphones on, fingers typing, eyes scanning the static on his screen. He sent messages to satellites, to the moon, even to Mars probes, just for fun. Until one night, he made a mistake. It was almost midnight. The sky was clear. The stars were bright. Eli leaned back in his chair, sipping cold coffee. Just one more test, he mumbled. He opened the control panel and typed in a new frequency, something higher than usual, something weird he found in an old alien theory forum. 36.7 theta pulse band. Probably nonsense, he said, but he clicked send anyway. A high-pitched tone buzzed through the dish. The lights in the shed flickered. Static jumped across the screen. Eli frowned. That's new. Suddenly, the dish spun on its own. The metal groaned. The signal strength bar turned red, then purple, something it had never done before, and then, boom, the power died. The whole house went black. Eli sat in silence. He grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside. The night air was still. Too still. No crickets, no wind, just silence. He walked to the dish. It wasn't moving, but it was glowing. Faint blue lines ran across its surface like veins. Eli took a step back. What the hell did I just contact? He turned toward his house and froze. His living room window was glowing. Bright. Red. He rushed back inside. As he stepped through the door, a cold wind swept past him, but the windows were closed. Then his TV turned on by itself. The screen was black. But words formed. You woke me. Eli's heart pounded. What is this? The yow. Lights flickered. And then she appeared. In the center of his living room, glowing red symbols lit up in a perfect circle on the floor. The air shimmered like heat, and from that light, a tall, shadowy figure beamed in, piece by piece. First her feet. Then her long legs, then her hands, clawed and pale. Her long black dress flowed like smoke. Her skin was silver white, her hair black as space, her eyes deep, red, glowing softly, and her fangs sharp and real. Eli couldn't move. She looked around slowly, then locked eyes with him. Her voice was cold, smooth, and powerful. Who summoned me, and why have you disturbed the blood sleep? Eli opened his mouth. Nothing came out. He tried again. I didn't summon anyone, I swear. She tilted her head. Then explain the signal. The beacon was ancient. Buried. Forgotten. I was just testing a frequency. It was an accident. Her eyes narrowed. She stepped closer. Her body didn't walk. It glided. I don't believe in accidents, she said. Eli stumbled back. Look, I don't even know who you are. She raised a hand. He went silent. Her eyes softened slightly. You are human, weak, and yet curious. She circled him slowly. You are not warrior, not scientist. And yet, you found me. Eli swallowed hard. Who are you? She smiled, and for a second it was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. I am Salenthra, last of the red moon kind. Vampire of the void. Daughter of the dead planet Neros. Eli blinked. Vampire? She smiled wider. Not like your stories. I feed on life energy, not blood, not always. He backed up into the couch and fell, into it. This isn't happening. Salenthra walked to the window and looked at the stars. You sent a signal meant only for my kind. Only one with strong spirit could do that. Eli shook his head. I just pressed a button. Yet, here I am, she said. Silence filled the room. The lights flickered again. Eli finally stood up. So? What now? She turned slowly. Now, I must decide if your mistake was a threat. Her eyes flashed red, or a summoning. Eli's heart pounded. He didn't know it yet, but that one signal, that one wrong message, had opened. A door not just to another planet, but to a woman whose power had been locked away for centuries. And now, she was awake. She stood by the window, her red eyes glowing softly in the dark. Selenthra, a name Eli could barely speak without feeling cold inside. She didn't breathe like humans did. She didn't blink. And when she moved, it was like watching a shadow glide across water, silent, smooth, and impossible to follow. Eli sat frozen on the edge of his couch, still trying to understand what had just happened. Vampire of the Void. Daughter of Neros. What did those words even mean? Selenthra turned slowly, her voice calm and sharp. You live alone. You fear nothing. Yet now you shake. Why? Eli cleared his throat, trying to keep his voice steady. I've never had a glowing, fanged alien teleport into my living room before. She tilted her head slightly, studying him like a curious cat might watch a mouse. But you did call me. I didn't mean to, he said quickly. I was just testing. A satellite frequency. I swear I had no idea where it would go. Selenthra's eyes narrowed. No idea? You pressed a forbidden code, buried since my kind were erased. Eli blinked. It was in an old online forum called Star Signal Anomalies. I thought it was a joke. She was silent for a moment, then without warning she appeared right in front of him, not walked, not ran, just appeared. He gasped and stumbled back over the coffee table. Her cold hand caught his wrist mid-fall. Her grip was firm but not cruel. I am not here to harm you, Eli, she said softly. But I do not trust you. You know my name? He whispered. Her lips curved. I touched your signal. It carried pieces of your voice, your thoughts. I followed them here. She let go of his wrist. Eli stood up slowly, heart still racing. So, what do you want now? Selenthra looked around the room, her eyes scanning the walls, the bookshelves, the flickering TV. I want to understand this world, and I want to know why a simple human touched something meant only for gods and monsters. He crossed his arms, still nervous. Look, I didn't wake you on purpose. I didn't even think anyone was out there. Selenthra stepped closer again, but this time slower. I have slept for over 2,000 years, locked beneath the dead crust of Neros. That signal, your signal, was the first thing I've heard in all that time. Eli swallowed hard. And you just teleported here? There are ancient markers, she explained, buried all over space. Your signal hit one. The system activated, and I followed it. Eli looked around, half expecting something else to appear. Selenthra's eyes softened. Tell me, she asked. Why do you call to the stars, Eli? What were you truly hoping to find? He sat down, still shaken but curious now. I guess I just didn't want to feel small anymore. I wanted to know if we mattered, if someone else was out there. She stepped beside him and looked out. The window again. You matter more than you know. This world is louder than it realizes. Its signals scream through space like wild songs, attracting things both kind and cruel. He looked at her. And what are you? She turned her face toward him slowly. That, she said, is what we must both find out. The clock on the wall ticked softly. Eli finally dared to ask, So, are you going to stay? Selenthra didn't answer right away. She walked to the kitchen doorway and stared at the refrigerator. This box, she asked. It hums. Is it alive? Eli blinked. It's just a fridge. It keeps things cold. She opened it, stared inside, and frowned. You eat dead plants. Why? Because they don't try to bite me back? Salenthra gave a quiet laugh, short, almost surprised. "I will stay," she said finally. For a while, Eli stood slowly. "And what happens when you leave?" She looked at him with glowing red eyes. "Then it depends on what you've become." That night, she did not sleep. She sat in the corner of his living room, legs crossed, eyes open, watching, waiting, learning, and Eli, lying in bed with his heart racing, whispered into the darkness, "I think I just made contact with a vampire goddess from space." But what he didn't know was this. Something else had followed her signal, and it would arrive soon. Not to watch, but to destroy. 3 days. That's how long Salenthra stayed in Eli's house. And during those 3 days, his quiet, boring life turned completely upside down. She didn't sleep at night. She didn't eat real food. She didn't touch anything unless it hummed, with energy. And most of all, she never stopped watching him. Eli would turn and catch her eyes following him across the room, glowing faintly like soft red candles. It wasn't evil. It wasn't kind either. It was curiosity. Like a hunter studying a creature it wasn't sure whether to eat or protect. On the first night, Eli woke to find her standing over him. She wasn't doing anything, just staring. He yelped and nearly fell off the bed. "Can I help you?" Salenthra tilted her head. "You breathe strange when you dream, like someone chasing shadows." Eli pulled the blanket up. "Yeah, well, I didn't know you were watching me sleep like a sci-fi Dracula." She didn't move. "I wanted to understand. Dreaming is not common among my kind. Neither is teleporting into people's houses." She gave a small smile and vanished from his room. By day, she explored his house like an alien scientist. She stared at the TV for 2 hours before asking, "Why do humans watch people pretend to feel pain?" Eli replied, "That's reality TV. We don't understand it either." She took apart his toaster just to see how it glowed inside. She tried to drink from a lamp before realizing it wasn't food. And once, she walked into the bathroom while Eli was brushing his teeth. "I'm in here," he shouted. She blinked. "Are you injured? You're foaming." "No, it's called toothpaste." But things weren't all strange and funny. Something was changing in her. Slowly. She laughed once. She smiled without showing her fangs. She stopped, floating, and began walking. And one afternoon she stood silently at his bookshelf staring at an old photograph. It was Eli's parents, long gone. He stepped beside her, awkward. "That was a long time ago." Salenthra's voice was soft. "You live in a world of endings." "Everyone does," he replied. "We just try to make the middle part count." She nodded. "We were taught to survive, not to feel." Eli looked at her. "You feel now?" She didn't answer, but he knew. Then came the 4th night. It started with a dog barking. Not his. The neighbor's. A deep, wild bark, full of fear. Then silence. Then a buzzing sound. Eli stepped onto the porch and looked around. The air was too still again, just like the night she arrived. Then the power flickered. Salenthra appeared behind him, without a sound. "It has come," she whispered. Eli turned to her. "What has?" Her face was hard now, sharp, cold, a seeker, a machine born of shadow. "It hunts things like me." Eli's mouth went dry. "It followed your signal?" Salenthra nodded. "It does not care who sent it, only that I am here." They rushed inside. The walls began to vibrate. The lights blinked red, and then a knock on the door. Not a human knock. A pulse, like metal slapping metal, over and over, boom, boom, boom. Salenthra's voice dropped low. "It knows I'm here." Eli grabbed the only weapon he had, a kitchen knife. He knew it was useless. She turned to him. "You must hide." "I'm not hiding," he said. Salenthra blinked. "Why?" Because you didn't run when you came. Here. You watched over me. Even when I didn't understand you. I'm not leaving you to fight alone. Her red eyes stared deep into his. And then, she smiled. Not a monster's smile, not a hunter's, but something softer. I see now, she said. Why your signal reached me, it was never a mistake. Outside, the door creaked. A dark shape moved past the window. It had no eyes, just a single red scanner turning left and right. Eli's hand shook. Salenthra floated up, her body glowing with black and red energy. She raised her hands, and the room dimmed as if the night itself bent around her. You opened a gate, she said to Eli, and now the darkness wants it closed. The Seeker punched through the wall, and the battle for the house, for Earth, for both of them, had begun. The wall cracked with a sharp, unnatural sound. Eli jumped back as splinters flew through the air. His living room wall, just bricks, and old paint moments ago, now had a fist-sized hole punched straight through it, but it wasn't a human fist. It was cold, black metal, a hand shaped like bone, but smooth like glass, dripping with a strange smoke. Outside, something stepped forward, half hidden in the shadows. It was tall, inhuman, and moved with no sound. A single red light glowed in the center of its head, its eye spinning slowly. The Seeker had arrived. Salenthra stood in front of Eli, floating just a few inches above the ground. Her long black dress now flowed like liquid fire, and her eyes burned bright red. Her voice dropped low, almost inhuman. Do not speak. Do not move. The Seeker scanned the room through the hole. Its red eye paused on her. Then, it shrieked. Not a sound of pain, not a scream. It was an alarm, a signal, a warning to something bigger. Salenthra whispered, "It's marking my position." Eli stepped beside her. Then we shut it up, fast. She looked at him. You cannot fight that. Your knife would bounce. I've got a better weapon, he said, eyes flicking toward the satellite dish controls in his lab. Salenthra understood instantly. If you reach the dish and pulse the signal again, it might short the Seeker's brain, temporarily. That's the idea. She nodded. I will distract it. Run fast. The Seeker burst through the wall like a cannonball. It was a machine, but not clean or shiny like a robot. It was covered in jagged plates, wrapped in black muscle-like cords, moving, like an animal made from parts of a nightmare. Its red scanner eye burned as it locked onto Salenthra. She charged. With a scream like broken glass, she raised her hands, and the entire living room exploded with red lightning. The Seeker stumbled, twitching. Eli ran. He sprinted across the backyard, heart pounding, toward the shed where his dish control panel sat. Behind him, he could still hear the fight, wood smashing, glass breaking, and a strange pulse shaking the ground. Inside the shed, he slammed the door and typed furiously. Dish, set to 946.7 theta pulse. Power, 200%. Target, local bounce. The machine outside might be made from ancient alien tech, but it was still listening, and that frequency had called Salenthra once. Maybe it could burn the Seeker now. Eli hit the big red button. Massive wave of invisible energy pulsed from the dish. The shed shook. Back in the house, the Seeker froze mid-strike, its arm just inches from Salenthra's throat. Its eye flickered. It made a low, glitched growl. Then it fell, hard, like a dead statue. Smoke rose from its spine. Eli burst through the front door, panting. Did it work? Salenthra stood over the twitching metal beast, her arm still raised, red light still pulsing through her veins. It worked, she said, but only for now. Suddenly, the Seeker's back opened. A long, needle-like drone shot upward into the sky, glowing red. Salenthra's face went pale. That was a trace beacon. What does that mean? Eli asked. She looked at him with deep worry in her eyes. It means others now know where I am. The Seeker was only a scout, a small one. Eli looked at the broken room. The walls scorched, the floor cracked, furniture burned. And the others? He asked. She answered simply, They do not knock. They burn everything. That night, they buried the Seeker's remains in the forest behind Eli's house. Salenthra stood quietly, staring at the stars above. Soon, she said, you will wish you never sent that signal. Eli stood beside her. Maybe, but I don't. Why not? He looked at her. Because before that night I was just surviving. Since you came, I've felt more alive than I ever have. She didn't smile, but she didn't argue. She whispered, Then let's survive together. And somewhere, in the black silence between stars, a much bigger ship turned its path toward Earth, following the Seeker's last message, coming not for war, but for judgment. The next morning, Eli woke to find his house half destroyed. One wall was missing, the furniture was broken, and the floor was black with burn marks. But it was quiet, too quiet. He stepped into the living room. Salenthra was standing by the broken window, staring at the trees. She hadn't moved all night. The wind moved her long black hair, but her face stayed still, like stone. Eli spoke gently. You haven't slept. I don't sleep, she replied. I remember. He stepped closer. Remember what? She turned to him, her eyes softer now. Things I tried to forget. Faces, fire, my world, before it turned to ash. He sat on a broken chair nearby. You said you were the last of your kind. Salenthra nodded. We were the Red Moon people. Our blood held energy, connection. We were more than bodies. We linked to the universe. And someone feared that? Yes, she whispered. The high circle of stars. They called us dangerous. Said we could twist time and memory, so they made machines to hunt us. Eli stared. Like the Seeker. She looked down. Yes, and worse. Silence fell between them. Then slowly, Salenthra stepped closer. I want to show you something, she said. Something you can't see with eyes. Eli blinked. What do you mean? She reached out her hand. Her voice grew softer. Our kind shared truth through blood. It's how we told stories, how we passed pain and love. I want you to see my world, not through words, but through me. Eli hesitated. Will it hurt? She looked into his eyes. Not your body. Just your heart, he nodded. Then do it. Salenthra knelt beside him. She gently raised his arm and leaned close, her fangs extended, sharp but elegant. She bit. Just a small puncture. Just enough. A warm pulse passed between them, and the world changed. Eli's mind fell into darkness. Then, images, flashes of a world, with two blood-red moons, tall towers made of crystal, children with glowing veins flying without wings, music from the stars. And then, war, machines falling from the sky, fires that burned for years, her people screaming, Salenthra. Kneeling in the ashes, her hands shaking as she held her sister's lifeless body. Then, darkness, a chamber, chains of energy. The final words of her captors, you are too dangerous to live, you will sleep forever. And silence. Endless silence. Eli gasped and fell to the floor. He was sweating. His chest ached. Salenthra knelt beside him. Breathe. It fades quickly. He looked at her with tears in his eyes. They locked you away because they feared your soul, not just your power. She nodded. To them, emotion was weakness. But we loved too deeply. He sat up slowly. You lost everything. Salenthra touched his cheek. And now I found something again, someone. Eli took her hand. You're not alone anymore. Her voice broke slightly. I didn't want to show you pain, but I needed you to understand what's coming. What is coming? He asked. She looked up at the sky. The ones who created the Seeker. They've woken too. Your signal reached them. They see me as a weapon that escaped. Will they come to Earth? Salenthra nodded. Yes, and they will not ask questions first. The sky that afternoon turned gray. A light rain began to fall. Eli and Salenthra stood on the porch watching the clouds gather. She wrapped herself in a long cloak now. Her glow was dimmer, but deeper, more controlled. Eli looked at her. You said you feed on life, but you've never hurt me. She glanced at him. I didn't come here to feed. I came to wake up. He smiled. And now? She turned toward him. I came for one reason, she whispered, but now I choose to stay. That night, as thunder rolled in the distance, Eli sat with her in the dark, and for the first time, she rested, not because she was weak, but because she trusted him. And above them, hidden in the sky, a silent ship watched, preparing, waiting, because the blood memory had awakened not only her, but everything that feared her return. At exactly 3:07 a.m., all of Eli's satellite receivers turned red. The signal screamed, not in sound but in light. Long, steady pulses, each one heavier than the last, each one closer. Eli sat up in bed, heart pounding. He rushed to his shed, bare feet slapping against the cold ground. His screens flickered wildly, then locked onto one message. Vampiric signature located, Planet 0302, Earth, Purge fleet en route. His hands trembled. They were coming, not to talk, not to capture, but to erase. He ran back inside the house. Salenthra was already standing in the hallway. Her eyes glowed like burning coals. I felt them, she whispered. They've crossed the veil. They will arrive before dawn. Eli stared at her. How big is the fleet? She closed her eyes. Enough to break this world in minutes. He tried to breathe. Then we run. But Salenthra shook her head slowly. No. I've run enough. It's time they saw me, not as prey, but as something they could never control. By sunrise, the sky began to change. It didn't turn red or black, but something stranger, as if space itself was folding just above the clouds. Airplanes were grounded. Satellites went silent. And on news channels, shaky phone videos showed a shadow in the sky, a ship so large it covered the sun for 3 seconds over the Atlantic. No one knew what it was, but Salenthra did. The High Order, the ones who sealed her away, the ones who called her a living virus, and now they were above Earth, ready to wipe the planet just to remove her. Michael watched from his hilltop, gripping a radio scanner tightly. We have to do something, he said. Salenthra stood still, her cloak moving in the wind. If I surrender, they may leave. Eli stepped in front of her. Or they may destroy Earth anyway. You said they erased whole planets just to be safe. She nodded. Yes. He turned, thinking fast. Then, we give them a different signal. Something stronger. Something that shows we are not weak. She tilted her head. You mean to trick them? No. I mean to warn them. Eli ran to the shed. The old dish still stood, damaged but alive. He connected wires, boosted energy, and pushed the power higher than it was ever meant to go. Salenthra entered behind him. What will you send? He looked at her. You. He placed a fingertip on her forehead. A glowing thread of her blood memory passed into the machine. It filled the data with more than just images. It sent fear, pain, power, and it carried one message, spoken in her voice. You created me. You caged me, but I survived your death. Now I stand on a world with those who chose me. Come again and you will not return. Then he pressed send. The dish shook. The power blew out every fuse in the cabin. Silence. Then, in the sky, the enemy ship paused, its weapons, previously glowing hot, dimmed. For 5 long minutes, the ship hovered. Then, it turned. It left. No attack, no message, just gone. Eli sat on the floor, exhausted, chest heaving. Salenthra stood over him. "You changed the battle," she whispered, "with a machine made of scrap." He smiled weakly. "Guess they didn't like hearing you had friends." She looked down at him. "No. They didn't like hearing I had choice." That night, Earth celebrated what it didn't understand. They called it a cosmic storm, a rare space illusion. No one knew the truth, but Eli did, and so did she. Salenthra sat beside him under the stars. "You saved your world," she said. He looked at her. "No, we did." She was quiet for a moment. Then she held out a small crystal, glowing deep red. "If you ever need me again," she said, "hold this. It will call me." Eli took it gently. "You're leaving?" She nodded. "For now, I've been seen. Others will come. But I will prepare. And I will return. If you ask." He held her hand one last time. "I didn't just wake a monster," he said. "I found a miracle." She smiled for real, soft, warm, and sad. Then vanished, into the wind. And far above, a different signal blinked into the stars. One not of warning, but of hope. Weeks passed. The sky no longer flickered with alien light. No signals buzzed in the shed. No dark ships hovered above Earth. And Eli's house, though still damaged, felt quiet again. Too quiet. The couch still had the burn marks from the Seekers' attack. The window frame still held the faint glow from Salenthra's arrival. But now there was no sound of her voice. No glowing eyes watching from the hallway. No soft footsteps across the floor at midnight. She was gone. And Eli missed her more than he thought possible. He walked to the edge of the field behind his house every night, holding the crimson crystal she had given him. It pulsed slowly, alive, but quiet. Sometimes he talked to it, just in case she was listening. "I hope you're safe out there." Other times he just held it and said nothing at all. On the 22nd night something changed. As Eli sat under the stars, a wind picked up, soft at first, then colder, sharper. The grass around him bent low like it was bowing. The crystal in his hand grew warm, then light, bright red, and from that light, a voice. Not from a speaker, not from the air, from within him. "You kept it close." His eyes widened, he stood up. "Salenthra?" "Yes," the voice said softly. "I've watched, and I've felt your call." Suddenly, the stars above blinked, just for a moment, then shimmered. Then, a beam of red light opened, gentle as a falling feather, and she stepped through. Salenthra looked different now. Still tall, still graceful, but changed. Her eyes still glowed, but calmer. Her presence, no longer like a storm, but like moonlight. Eli stared at her, not sure what to say. She smiled. "You didn't forget me." He laughed softly. "Kinda hard to forget the vampire woman who beamed into my living room." She walked closer. "I stayed away to protect you, but I could still feel you, every time you touched the crystal." Eli held it up. "It's all I had left." She took his hand and closed his fingers around it. "No," she whispered. "You had something more." She stepped even closer, voice warm now. "You had belief." They sat together on the hill. For a while neither of them spoke. Just watched the stars like old friends who had survived something huge, unspoken. Finally, Salenthra said, "The High Order hasn't returned, but they will. One day." Eli nodded. "And when they do?" She looked at him with the same fire she had the night she fought the Seeker. "Then they'll see this world isn't alone." He smiled, looking up. "People here, they don't know. They think the sky was just strange that day. They don't know you saved us." "I don't need statues," she said. "No. But you deserve one. Salenthra touched his shoulder gently. You gave me more than safety, Eli. You gave me a reason to be me again. She reached into her cloak and pulled out a small black stone. This is a signal seed. With it, we can create a network to call others like me, not vampires, but survivors, misunderstood beings who were hunted, erased. Eli took the stone carefully. You're building something, he said. A sanctuary, she replied. A place where beings like me are not feared but free. He stood up beside her. I want to help. Her eyes glowed. I hoped you'd say that. The next morning, people in the small town saw something new. A strange tower, just outside. Eli's land, rising like glass and stone, pulsing faintly with red light. It didn't make noise. It didn't ask for attention, but it watched the stars. And inside that tower, two beings worked together, one human, one not, to rewrite the future. The story would never make the news. No one would know the full truth. But across the galaxy, a new signal was born, a signal not of fear, not of war, but of light, because once a man sent a signal to the wrong planet, and instead of a monster, he found a miracle.